Lila Reyes sat in the back row of Harvard University's Linguistics lecture hall, her hands shaking as she held her research paper. She'd worked on it for 6 months, stayed up countless nights, analyzed thousands of Tagalog sentences, pored over grammar structures that most linguists ignored. All to prove one thing: her language, the language she grew up speaking in Manila, was far more complex than anyone realized. Today, she would present her findings to Professor Dr. Richard Hartwell, one of the world's most respected linguists. He'd authored 12 books, lectured at Oxford, Cambridge, the Sorbonne, published papers that shaped modern linguistic theory. His opinion could make or break an academic career. Lila had flown 18 hours from Manila for this opportunity. Her family had saved for years to send her to Harvard. She worked 2 jobs, library assistant during the day, restaurant server at night, just to afford her tiny dorm room. Every sacrifice, every exhausting hour had led to this moment. "Miss Reyes," Dr. Hartwell called out, not even looking up from his notes. "You're presenting on Tagalog grammar?" Lila stood, her legs weak. "Yes, Professor. My research shows that Tagalog has a significantly more complex grammatical structure than previously recognized. In fact, when compared to English." "English?" Dr. Hartwell looked up, a slight smirk forming on his face. "You're comparing Tagalog to English?" The class of 30 graduate students turned to look at her. Some were already smiling, a few exchanged knowing glances. "Yes, sir," Lila continued, her voice steadier now. "My analysis shows that Tagalog has 17 distinct verb aspects compared to English's 12. It has multiple focus systems that English doesn't possess. The pronoun system is far more nuanced, with distinctions that—" Dr. Hartwell held up his hand, cutting her off mid-sentence. "Miss Reyes, let me save you some time," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Tagalog is what we linguists call a simple language. It evolved for basic communication among island populations. It lacks the grammatical sophistication of Indo-European languages. That's not a criticism, it's just linguistic reality." Lila felt her chest tighten. "Professor, with respect, my research directly contradicts that. If you just look at the data—" "The data?" Dr. Hartwell stood up, walking toward her. His height, easily 6'2", towered over her 5'2" frame. "Young lady, I've studied linguistics for 35 years. I've analyzed languages from 6 continents. I've published more papers than you've probably read. Tagalog is grammatically primitive. It's efficient for simple conversation, but it doesn't have the complexity for abstract thought that languages like English, French, or German possess." Several students nodded. One whispered to another, loud enough for Lila to hear, "Why is she even arguing with him?" Lila opened her research folder, hands trembling. "Professor, I have documented evidence. Tagalog's verb conjugation system alone has layers of temporal, aspectual, and modal distinctions that—" "Stop!" Dr. Hartwell's voice was sharp. "This is Harvard, Miss Reyes. We deal in rigorous academic analysis, not sentimental attachment to one's native language. I understand you're proud of your heritage. That's admirable, but pride doesn't change grammatical facts." The room was silent, every eye on her. "Your paper is rejected," Dr. Hartwell said flatly. "I suggest you choose a more credible topic for your thesis, perhaps something within your actual area of expertise." He returned to his desk. Dismissed. Done with her. Lila stood there, frozen. She'd sacrificed everything for this moment. Her family's savings, her sleep, her health. All to be told her language, her mother's language, her grandmother's language, was primitive by a man who'd never even spoken a word of it. She gathered her papers with trembling hands and walked out of the lecture hall. Behind her she heard laughter. That night in her tiny dorm room, Lila stared at her research. Months of work, hundreds of pages of analysis, all dismissed in 3 minutes by a man who refused to even look at her evidence. Her roommate Jennifer found her there at 2 a.m., eyes red from crying. "Lila, forget him," Jennifer said. "Hartwell's a dinosaur. Everyone knows he's biased against non-European languages." "Then why is he still teaching?" Lila asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Because he's famous, because he's published, because the academic world protects its own." Lila looked at her research one more time. Then she looked at her phone. A message from her mother in Manila. "How did it go, Anak?" Lila couldn't bring herself to reply, but as she sat there in the darkness, something shifted inside her. The humiliation, the anger, the hurt. It all crystallized into one single burning thought. "I will prove him wrong." What Lila did next would shock the entire academic world and change linguistics forever. Lila didn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after that. Instead, she did something Dr. Hartwell never expected. She went to war. For the next 8 months, Lila became obsessed. She turned her tiny dorm room into a research laboratory, every wall covered with charts, grammar structures, verb conjugations, syntactic trees, comparative analysis between Tagalog and 17 other languages. She stopped going to parties, stopped socializing. Her only breaks were her 2 jobs, and even then she brought index cards to memorize during her shifts. Jennifer watched her roommate transform. "Lila, you need to sleep. You need to eat." "I'll sleep when I'm done," Lila replied, eyes never leaving her screen. "I'll eat when I've proven him wrong." She reached out to linguists across the Philippines, professors at University of the Philippines, researchers at Ateneo, scholars whose work had been ignored by Western academia simply because it came from Filipino authors. They sent her everything: unpublished papers, raw data, decades of research that had been rejected by American journals, not because it was wrong, but because it challenged Western assumptions. Then Lila discovered something that changed everything. She found Dr. Hartwell's dissertation from 1985. In it, he'd written, "Further research is needed to fully understand the grammatical complexity of Austronesian languages, particularly in verb aspect systems." He'd known. 35 years ago, he'd admitted there were gaps in his understanding. But instead of doing that research, he'd spent decades dismissing languages he never studied, building a career on assumptions he'd never tested. Lila didn't just analyze Tagalog, she mathematically proved its complexity. She documented 19 distinct verb aspects, each with subtle distinctions English couldn't express. She mapped focus systems that allowed speakers to emphasize different sentence parts in ways English needed entire clauses to convey. She proved Tagalog's pronoun system was more complex than English, French, and German combined. It distinguished between inclusive and exclusive we, different forms based on social context. It encoded information that other languages needed multiple words to express. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, mathematical. 8 months after her humiliation, Lila submitted her paper to the International Journal of Linguistic Research. 3 months later, accepted for publication. We'd like you to present at the annual International Linguistics Conference in Boston. Dr. Richard Hartwell is keynote speaker. Lila stared at the email. Then she looked at her mother's unanswered message from 8 months ago. She finally replied, "It went badly, Nane. But I'm making it right. I'm proving that our language, your language, Lola's language, is beautiful and complex and sophisticated. I'm proving they were wrong." Her mother's response came immediately. "Anak, I never doubted. I'm proud of you, not because you're proving them wrong, because you never forgot where you came from." The day of the conference arrived. Lila walked onto the stage. 300 linguists filled the room. Dr. Hartwell sat in the 3rd row. Their eyes met. Recognition slowly dawned on his face. Lila began, "For too long, Western linguistics has operated under colonial bias. that grammatical complexity correlates with European language structures. Today, I'm going to prove that assumption wrong. She presented everything, every data point, every mathematical proof, every piece of evidence showing Tagalog's complexity exceeded English in measurable, objective ways. The room sat in stunned silence. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. Dr. Hartwell stood. The room went quiet. "Miss Reyes," he said, his voice shaking, "your research is extraordinary. I was wrong, profoundly wrong. I built my career on assumptions I never questioned. I owe you, and every scholar I dismissed, an apology." Lila looked at him, the man who'd crushed her, who'd called her language primitive. "Professor Hartwell," she said, her voice calm and strong, "I appreciate your apology, but I didn't do this for you. I did it for my mother, who taught me Tagalog while working 2 jobs. For my grandmother, who never went to college but spoke 3 languages fluently. For every Filipino student told their language isn't good enough. And for every scholar whose work was dismissed because it didn't fit Western assumptions." She paused, then smiled. "You taught me something important, Professor. You taught me that when someone tries to diminish you, you don't shrink. You grow. You work. You prove them wrong with evidence they cannot ignore. So thank you. Your rejection made me a better scholar than your acceptance ever would have." The applause was deafening. 6 months later, Lila's paper became one of the most cited works in modern linguistics. Universities worldwide revised their curriculums. Dr. Hartwell retired early. His legacy forever changed. But Lila didn't stop there. She founded the Global Linguistics Initiative, dedicated to elevating research from non-Western scholars. She made sure voices like hers would never be dismissed again. Years later, when young Filipino students asked how she succeeded, she'd tell them, "They'll try to tell you that you're not enough, that your language isn't sophisticated, that your culture isn't valuable. Don't let them dim your light. Let their doubt become your fuel. Let their rejection become your motivation. And when you prove them wrong, and you will, do it with grace, with evidence, and with pride in who you are. Because in the end, the most powerful response to being underestimated isn't anger, it's excellence.